When British actor James Mason passed away in 1984, most people thought his story had ended. He had lived a long and eventful life, filled with fame, success, scandal, and deep struggles. But a surprising discovery in his Beverly Hills estate proved that Mason's legacy was far from over. Hidden behind false walls and in dusty storage spaces, workers uncovered film reels worth millions, many of them linked to silent film legend Buster Keaton. That discovery alone would have been enough to make headlines. But the real shock came years later, when a cassette tape labeled "Do Not Play" was reportedly found among Mason's belongings. The 90-minute recording was said to contain his unfiltered thoughts about Hollywood's darkest secrets. Rumors spread quickly, claims of Mason exposing hidden crimes, harsh criticism of major studios, and shocking comments about fellow actors. Collectors tried to get their hands on it, studios supposedly wanted to bury it, and whispers about its contents only fueled the mystery. To this day, no one has ever confirmed the full truth about the tape, and some doubt whether it even existed. Still, the story adds another layer to Mason's already complicated life. Whether or not the recording was real, it symbolized what Mason often represented: a man caught between elegance and controversy, between being respected and being mistrusted. To understand why this story still fascinates so many, we need to look at the life of James Mason himself, a man who was never afraid to take risks, whether on screen or off, and who left behind both treasures and scandals for future generations to uncover. James Mason was born on May 15, 1909, in Huddersfield, West Yorkshire, England. His father ran a successful wool business, selling fine cloth across Europe, and his mother came from a cultured family that valued respectability and tradition. Naturally, his parents hoped he would follow a safe and respectable career path, such as architecture. But Mason's mother also saw something different in her son. She noticed his gift for performance early on, and quietly arranged elocution lessons to soften his Yorkshire accent. That small decision would shape his future more than anyone could have guessed. As a boy, Mason struggled with a serious stammer, which often left him isolated from his classmates. But everything began to change when a drama teacher invited him to join the school's theatre group. Acting not only gave him confidence, it also helped him overcome his stammer. Mason would later write about how thrilling it was to perform Shakespeare on stage. Describing the experience as intoxicating, the theatre quickly became his safe space, a place where his voice was not a burden but a strength. Despite his growing passion, Mason still tried to follow the path his parents wanted. He went on to Cambridge University in 1927 to study architecture. But while he was supposed to focus on buildings and design, his heart was elsewhere. He secretly joined acting groups, performing in play after play, from Greek tragedies to modern dramas. His father later offered him a secure position in the family textile business, which would have guaranteed him wealth and stability. But Mason shocked everyone when he turned it down, instead joining a repertory theatre in London. That decision created a lasting rift with his family, who thought he was throwing away a golden future. For Mason, though, it was the moment he truly committed to the stag. When James Mason died in 1984, fans thought they knew everything about him. He had been one of Britain's most respected actors, a man whose career spanned over 150 films, working with directors like Alfred Hitchcock and Stanley Kubrick. But a discovery in his Beverly Hills estate revealed there was more to his story than the public ever imagined. Hidden behind false walls, workers uncovered film reels that had been locked away for decades. These reels, once belonging to silent film legend Buster Keaton, turned out to be priceless treasures that Mason had unknowingly preserved. The find was extraordinary, but it wasn't the only secret linked to Mason's home. 10 years later, in 1994, rumors began spreading about another shocking discovery. A 90-minute cassette tape, marked with the chilling words, "Do Not Play," was said to have surfaced from Mason's property. According to those who claimed to have heard it, the tape contained Mason's unfiltered opinions about Hollywood's darkest secrets about his famous co-stars, the cruelty of studio systems, and the corruption he witnessed firsthand. Some even whispered that the tape contained accusations of crimes so serious that studios and executives wanted to silence it forever. No verified copy of the tape has ever been released, and many question whether it truly existed. Yet, the very idea that Mason might have left behind such a raw, forbidden confession has fueled endless speculation. True or not, the story of the mysterious tape adds to the aura surrounding James Mason, a man whose life was full of brilliance, scandal, risk-taking, and mystery. To understand the fascination with Mason's supposed hidden words, it helps to look back at his life. James Mason was born on May 15, 1909, in Huddersfield, West Yorkshire. His father was a successful wool merchant, while his mother came from a refined family that valued education and culture. His parents hoped he would become an architect, something stable and respectable. But Mason's mother secretly encouraged his gift for performance, arranging elocution lessons to refine his accent and prepare him for public speaking. Growing up, Mason suffered from a severe stammer that made him feel different from his classmates. Everything changed when a drama teacher invited him to join the school's small theatre group. Performing gave him confidence, and the act of speaking on stage helped him overcome his speech difficulties. Mason later described the joy of performing Shakespeare as intoxicating, and it lit a fire inside him that never went out. In 1927, Mason entered Cambridge University to study architecture, fulfilling his parents' wishes on paper. But instead of focusing only on lectures and design work, he secretly spent his time acting in productions staged by the Marlowe Society. By 1930, his father offered him a secure place in the family textile business, a future of wealth and stability. To everyone's shock, Mason turned it down and chose instead to pursue acting full-time with a repertory theatre in London. The decision caused a deep rift with his family, who thought he was throwing away a golden opportunity. For Mason, however, it was a declaration: he would live for the stage, not for tradition. Mason's early years as an actor were far from glamorous. He worked with small touring companies, performing in half-empty halls across Britain. Money was scarce, and he sometimes had to pawn his belongings just to eat. At one point, he even slept backstage on cold floors between shows. His persistence paid off when playwright J.B. Priestley noticed him during an audition and offered him a role in London's West End. Practically overnight, Mason went from struggling to celebrated, gaining praise for the depth and intensity of his performances. Alongside his professional rise came personal drama. Mason began an affair with Pamela Carlino, a married woman he had met on a film set. Their relationship shocked society when it became public, especially because, for a time, Mason lived under the same roof as Pamela and her husband. Eventually, her husband filed for divorce, and Mason and Pamela quickly married in Nevada, but rumors of bigamy swirled and damaged his reputation. On set, Mason's passions sometimes went too far. During the filming of I Met a Murderer, he insisted on doing his own stunts and was badly injured when a cart accident sent him off a cliff. Refusing proper medical treatment, he kept filming with a broken wrist hidden beneath a coat. When World War II broke out, Mason made another controversial decision. He declared himself a conscientious objector, refusing combat duty. Newspapers called him a coward, and some studios stopped hiring him. Instead, Mason drove ambulances during the Blitz, risking his life nightly to pull people from burning rubble. Though more dangerous than many combat roles, this did little to silence his critics. Mason, once again, had chosen to follow his own convictions, no matter the cost. By 1943, Mason's luck began to turn when he landed a career-changing role in The Man in Grey. Instead of playing the hero, Mason convinced the director to let him play the villain. His chilling performance made audiences both fascinated and horrified, and the film became a massive box office success. 2 years later, Mason starred in The Seventh Veil, a film that cost less than $100,000 to make, but went on to earn millions worldwide. It drew over 18 million admissions in Britain, even outselling Gone with the Wind in some areas. Mason's profit-sharing deal reportedly earned him $20,000, equivalent to nearly $800,000 today. His performance as a dark, controlling music teacher established him as a new kind of leading man, magnetic but morally complex. Yet behind the success came tension. His relationship with co-star untold became legendary for their constant clashes, with the press dubbing them cement and dynamite. At one point, Mason tore up a script in front of the crew, only for audiences later to see the fiery chemistry between them on screen. The film's success should have brought Mason Oscar recognition, but due to rules that excluded films released first in Britain, he was ineligible. The film still won for Best Original Screenplay, but Mason was left out, a wound he carried for years. By 1947, Mason's growing success in Britain collided with financial realities. Facing punishingly high taxes that would have left him with only a fraction of his earnings, Mason moved to Hollywood. The move drew heavy criticism at home, with newspapers accusing him of abandoning Britain in its time of post-war recovery. To make matters worse, it came just as Hollywood was pulling British films from circulation in a financial dispute, leaving Mason's reputation back home in ruins. Hollywood gave Mason new opportunities, but also new scandals. In 1946, he famously adopted a lion cub from a struggling circus. At first, neighbors were amused by the unusual pet roaming his estate. But as the cub grew into a roaring 200-pound predator, complaints poured in. During one thunderstorm, the lion escaped, causing widespread panic until it was captured by zoo experts. Mason eventually faced legal battles and had to relocate the animal. But the story followed him for years as an example of his eccentric lifestyle. Professionally, he regained his footing in 1951 with The Desert Fox, playing General Rommel. Soon after, he starred opposite Judy Garland in A Star Is Born, delivering one of his most acclaimed performances as Norman Maine, a fading actor whose struggles mirrored Mason's own demons. In 1959, Mason again impressed audiences as the villain in Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest. That same year, his Beverly Hills estate revealed its most remarkable secret. During renovations, workers discovered a hidden vault containing lost Buster Keaton films, including The General and The Boat. These nitrate reels were dangerously flammable, but Mason paid thousands to preserve them, ultimately donating them to the Library of Congress. Without his intervention, priceless pieces of film history might have been lost forever. Though Keaton's widow contested ownership, Mason avoided a courtroom battle by reaching a private deal, ensuring the films could be shared with the world. His efforts helped spark a new movement to preserve silent cinema, showing Mason's impact went beyond his own performances. Still, his personal life was turbulent. His marriage to Pamela deteriorated into public scandals, tabloid fights, and eventually, a bitter divorce. Their children were caught in the middle of custody battles. And Mason himself turned to gambling, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in casinos. The same man who saved priceless films was also pawning his Golden Globe to pay debts. Despite his troubles, Mason never stopped taking risks with his roles. In 1962, he accepted the controversial part of Humbert Humbert in Stanley Kubrick's Lolita. To make the film possible under strict censors, Mason even agreed to a $100,000 pay cut. He studied Nabokov's novel in depth, rehearsed tirelessly, and delivered a performance that made audiences both disturbed and fascinated. The role was divisive, with critics praising his artistry while others accused him of glorifying immorality. Yet it cemented his reputation as an actor unafraid of difficult roles. 4 years later, in Georgie Girl, Mason again played a morally questionable older man, earning another Oscar nomination. Even outside film, he threw himself into work with unusual dedication, recording lines for Disneyland's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride inside a mock submarine at 3 a.m. to capture authenticity. By the 1970s and 1980s, Mason's career slowed, but he remained respected. His performance in The Verdict 1982, opposite Paul Newman, earned him yet another Oscar nomination, while his final film, The Shooting Party 1984, was released after his death and praised as a fitting farewell. Away from acting, Mason also became an early advocate for animal welfare, donating large